All right, we are live.
So, Kenzie, are you going out to Ravenna at all, or?
Nope, I am going to Farley and Baraboo this weekend.
Ah,
Okay.
Yeah. So my
All
next
right.
outlaw will be in Cherokee and Arlington.
Okay. Well, if
I'll
you
be
want to kick that video off, we'll do that and then get started.
Baldwin Filters, MTV, and KFXL Fox, Nebraska invite you to the 2023 Ravenna Tractor Pull. 2 big nights, Friday, June 9th and Saturday, June 10th at 7 p.m. both nights at Anabar Park, Ravenna. See Grand National Outlaw Class, Pro Stock, Modified, Super Farm, Pro Stock 4x4, Modified 2-Wheel Drive, Light Pro Stock, Diesel Super Stock, Light Super Stock, and Light Limited Pro Stock. That's June 9th and 10th, Anabar Park, Ravenna.
All right. Well, we are now live with the Live with Lussetto broadcast. Tonight's guest will be Mark, and it's Mark J. Ham, right? Is that what you go by on Facebook?
yes. Mark Ham is a two-wheel drive puller out of Iowa, so I had to put that J in there many years ago. So,
It's hard to believe there's two, but I met him last year at Rock Valley as well.
yeah, he's a lot more handsome than this guy is.
And turbocharged truck, I kind of like that as well.
Yeah, he's got cooler toys than I do.
Yeah, but just for the people that aren't used to Mark, just let you know, he is a photographer that goes around and takes pictures. I see demolition derbies and tractor pulls and farm pulls, and gets around, covers several groups. So I got to ask, but you have to be a pulling fan to be doing what you're doing, because I'm sure you're not paying the light bill by taking
Uh,
pictures on a day-to-day basis.
yeah, that's a fair assumption. Yeah, no, I've been liking pulling for many years, and it kind of grew on me, and then it got bigger and bigger. And next to know, I'm doing this, and then next to know, I'm buying more toys and going more places.
Yeah, sure. Um, and I tell you, this is something we'll kind of get in the weeds here right away. But I mean, I don't think people realize the amount of investment in the dollars worth of equipment and stuff. I mean, this is really probably more than a hobby, though. I mean, it may not be your day job, but it's certainly got to be a passion, no different than our pulling vehicles are to us.
Well, I brought back the website this, the 1st of January. And the thing is with having a website, you have to pay royalties and so forth for me to sell stuff on there. I've got a sales tax license with the state of South Dakota. And so, yeah, no, I treat it like a business. And, unfortunately, by treating it by a business, you have to make sure you get your return on investment, and you got to make sure that you cover expenditures. So,
Yes, I think for us as pullers and venues and also running the organization, um, for me personally, the added value of what you do is immense. It's very, I mean, we all have good intentions and people that go with us, but we never seem to get the pictures and if you look back, I've seen over the years of, the guys out east, whether it's Ryan or Cody or you. I mean, there's several incredible photographers, and a Kevin Kaiser out of Windsor, or is it Colorado. It
mhm.
just it tells a story too on top of it, let alone with the catching the action.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of it is being storytellers, and then each one of us, there's sometimes where all three of us might be at the same place. We're going to show you a different angle, or we might catch something, or they might catch something, and so that's a lot of fun. And so that's one thing that's fun is a lot of us all we play together really nicely. There isn't that what's the word I want? It's not clicky, I don't think, at least not in this region.
Well, and I'd say I wouldn't view you guys as competitors as much as it's almost like your peers, and you're working together, because I would think with photography, it's about, a lot of it is the moment, which, there's a lot of moments where in time where you can catch the perfect picture of something breaking, blowing up, or, just anything in between.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you catch it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you may not have that setting just right, or sometimes that autofocus, as much as it's auto, there's still some failure in it, and sometimes you don't get as clear of a shot as we want. So
Yes. So Mark, let's kind of go back. Where did your love for pulling start?
um so I haven't quite nailed it down if I had much to do with pulling as a kid, other than my dad was a case mechanic way back in the 70s and so forth. So I'm still a case guy, so to speak. Um, the biggest thing is when the pulling really took off again is when I got out of the military and my brother got out of the military, and we kind of shared a love for that agriculture type stuff, and then it kind of grew from there.
Okay. What about your photography? When did that start?
So the photography didn't start right away. Initially, what I was doing is I was building those little 1/64 scale pullers, and my brother and I were doing that quite often. I was actually selling them for a long time, and a lot of times we were going to the polls and we were going there taking pictures of rear ends and weight brackets and what it looks like with the differential and stuff, just to get reference pictures so that way we could be more realistic. Well, then the next thing I know, Tim Blankspore, he all of a sudden said, "Hey, do you want to take some pictures at a benefit poll?" And then I did. And then next to know, he got me trackside at Rock Valley. And here we are.
Just kind of grew up from there.
Yep. It used to be in the grandstands.
Do you have an idea of how many states and different places that you've been?
Let's see. So I've done Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota, and one time down in Kansas City, Missouri for the Cowtown Showdown. So 5 states.
Travel quite a ways.
I try to stay within about a 4-hour driving radius, because a lot of times I don't stay in hotels unless it's going to be, a multi-day hook. So anything more than 3-4 hours is outside of how far I want to drive after we get done.
For sure. And I understand your daughter's with you part of the time. Does she go to the polls as well?
She doesn't. She does not have much interest in tractor pulling, which, you know what, I think I'm okay with, because I have a feeling if she traveled with me, I'd be worried about, well, she got enough money for a hamburger? Is she talking to boys? I don't think I would be as focused as I am on the track.
For sure. That's understandable.
And then plus, I think before the pro stocks would run, I'd get that, "Can we go home now?"
Oh, wrong time. Yeah.
Right.
Yep, I understand. How old is your daughter?
10, going on 15.
I know that drill very well. Yeah. Man, I want to go back one more deal. What did you do and where did you go in the military? What branch of service?
I used to be active duty Air Force. I used to basically put cargo and passengers and vehicles on, vehicles on aircraft. So I was in North Carolina. I was in the Azores and Guam. My joke is I hate water, but that's where I've always been, is by water. And so a lot of times I was always at gas stations for stuff going to where the conflict was, whether it was Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia. I was that in-between gas station.
Okay. And you said you spent some time in Guam?
Yep, I did. I did.
My dad actually spent some time in Guam back in the late 60s.
Oh, sure.
He was he worked on B-52s during the Vietnam conflict. So
there still is a B-52 at the end of the runway, still sitting out the ocean. That's a big attraction for scuba divers out there. They go out there.
Oh my goodness.
There's still some unexploded ordnances out in the trees and out in who knows where on the edges of that island yet.
Well, that's going to make me ask some more questions later, because I do believe my dad was there when one of them went off the end of the runway. I wonder
that might have been
the
it.
Same plane. Yeah.
It probably is.
Oh,
yep.
Interesting. Okay. And then did you just do the 4 years, or how long did you spend in the military?
I did 4.5. I got out not too long after 9/11. I was in Guam during the 9/11, and then around that time, my dad was going through some prostate cancer and some Alzheimer's stuff. And
Yes.
both my brother and I were on different sides of the world, and he was pretty committed to a career where I wasn't. So I thought, maybe it's a good idea to have at least one of us in the United States. So I actually got
Yes.
out and I went to school.
Absolutely. Okay. And where is home?
I grew up in Bowdle, South Dakota. Population, I think it's only like 600 now. And then right now I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is right at the southeastern edge
Yep.
of South Dakota. So that means I've got a lot of tractor pulling within 3-4 hour drive of me.
So you're pretty darn close into the outlaw country. And then, do you also take pictures at some farm pulls as well?
Yeah. Actually, that's kind of how I kind of started out, was doing the Great Plains tractor pullers. Did a lot for them, and then it kind of grew into the Outlaws, and then I've expanded out and done some for Nebraska Bush. I've gone over to United Pullers in Minnesota, and I've caught you Heartland folks 2-3 times, and
Yep.
some non-sanctioned stuff. And it just depends on what the calendar looks like and how ambitious I am about being in a car.
And what's close? Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Do you have any favorite venues that you like?
My favorite is the last one I just came from.
That's funny.
Um,
That's the one, Mark. I tell you what, I love getting to some of these venues. You never know what you run into. One of my favorite uh, venues is Neely, Nebraska. They've got an old wood grandstand that is something that is just phenomenal.
mhm.
And it's you just never know what you run into.
Oh yeah. I can't say that there's much of any that I don't like. There might be a couple where I'm like, that lighting is hard to work with after a certain time.
Yes.
It's gotten better the last year. I basically bought a used car worth of camera equipment, so it's gotten me a lot better at nighttime. But sometimes still, I mean, poor lighting, it works against you, and then there's enough fails as it is when you're taking pictures, but when your lighting is fighting against you, I mean, it's just kind of it's daunting on the morale while you're doing it.
And I imagine, depending on the venue, the equipment at the venue, that you really probably can't do a lot with it if the lighting is poor.
Especially with the old camera, and now with the new camera, I can do a lot better. But certain venues, you'll have different colored spotlights, or you'll have, some might be a halogen, or some of them might be something else, and you'll see it. A lot of times I'll take a bunch. Well, I can take anywhere from 8 to 20 pictures of a pass,
Oh
and
my
you
goodness.
can see the differences in just each frame.
Yeah.
So there's a example of something I used to make with the 1/64 scale stuff.
Oh, very cool.
And I actually have a display board. Well, two of them, an outdoor one and an indoor one out in the garage. One of them I used to take around for the banquets. I had it at the Outlaw banquet before, and I've had it at the Nebraska Bush banquet before.
Oh, very neat.
And before anyone asks, yes, I'm retired. I don't build that stuff anymore. I kind of got out of that a couple years ago.
Yeah. I understand, excuse me, that you also do some work at demolition derbies as well.
Yeah, that was something that kind of started out also before the tractor pulling deal is, so before even tractor pulling, I used to own a mobile DJ service. And so I used to do wedding dances, and I did that while I was still in the military. And then when I got out, I started doing that. Well, back home, we had our quasi centennial, 125 years. So
Uh-huh.
we always had a demolition derby that I drove in once many, many years ago when I had hair. And they asked me to announce it. So I announced it. And then it kind of built from there. And then my brother kind of took pictures, and I kind of took pictures. And then, believe it or not, I've actually announced a tractor pull before. So.
How did you like that, or what did you think of that?
It was still early. I was still green. I didn't know a lot of stuff, and I had basically a mobile DJ service set up, and so it was, I don't know, it wasn't quite susceptible to a tractor pull. You almost need 4 or 5 speakers going around one sideline, and I only had 2, and so I don't know. It was a learning experience. I really enjoyed it, and I'm thankful for the folks at the Northeast Nebraska Pullers who took the chance with me having to do it. And I know they've asked me a couple times to do it, but they changed the weekend that they have their pull, and it just doesn't ever work out. So,
I'll ask this: is that something you would do again?
announcing, I don't know. Maybe. To be honest, I really like the whole thing of just staying down at 200 foot, staying out of the way, trying not to
Yep.
be ran over.
Yep.
And then
It's
the fact is if I get tired or I lose interest, I can just pack up and I can go home.
you're not stuck at the. I understand that. Yeah, I completely understand.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing with being freelance versus you've got some gentlemen that they work for organizations, and I'm guessing there's an expectation where you're there from hook 1 to hook 100. Whereas
Well,
if I need to, I can accidentally bolt, and there ain't going to be any repercussion. It's just the only thing is I'm going to have less content. So,
and I'm sure you're well aware of the most important picture is whoever competitor or driver. They all want to see their picture.
yeah. Well, I always found out that usually whenever I would try to excuse myself to go use the latrine, there would always be that one pass, and I missed it.
Yeah.
I can tell you a couple times where something has happened at Rock Valley, and that was the time where I could hear it, and I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Well, but that I'll tell you what, that's another thing that gets a little dicey. You just don't think about, but some of these 5-hour shows, nature calls.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, a lot of us joke about Wisner. We always say, "I wish we had a porta potty down at the end of like 300 foot there," because when you're pushing 160, 180 hooks through there. And
Yeah.
it's always hot that first week in August, so you're always drinking
Yes.
water.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting older in age, and the capacity in the tank isn't as long as it used to be.
Yeah. This is coming from a sled operator. There's no worse spot to be in that situation either.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, oh yeah.
It's hard to sneak off for any amount of hooks there.
Yep. So I can't remember who was asking it. There was a time in Wisner, Nebraska. It was one of the first times I shot down there. I was actually on the angry side of the fence, and I can't remember. It was one of the Ott boys was doing a pass, and he got really close to that right sideline, and I had to basically duck down to get blasted from the dirt. And if you look at the GoPro video I had and a couple other videos, it was darn close. So I got smarter, and now I'm on the other side of that guardrail.
Well, and I would assume that it's kind of a rough deal looking through the viewfinder.
It changes your depth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you get used to it to where you kind of notice that that stuff's getting close, or?
Sometimes you can tell by just a different feel. Like when the mods come by, especially that Omer guy, when he comes by with that 3-engine Chevy, that's a whole different feeling coming down that track when you're right there.
Yes.
I mean, that's how I got, I guess you could say, acclimated to the Outlaws. Is he hugged that line the first time I was at Rock Valley, and I got a roost like you wouldn't believe.
I learned. I've driven several different vehicles, and I did drive a blown Hemi once, and it was kind of amazing how as I had come from the tractor world, you don't even think about hearing protection underneath the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
That blower motor is a different animal.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Yeah. No. You see, I run a set of Ear Pro that you use for shooting, and then when the mods come out or any of the Hemi stuff comes out, I actually use my daughter's shooting headphones. And Ryan and those guys give me static because I put on these big pink hearing protection on, but I don't care. It's got my decal on there, so it's all good.
Yeah, close enough, right? Yeah. No, that's probably a darn good idea.
Well, I was around a lot of equipment, all those jet engines and stuff in the Air Force, and so it's like, my hearing isn't as good as it should be at my age as it is. So
Yes. Now, was that your picture there at Wisner
yes,
of the super farms? That was a dang neat idea.
yep, that was not my idea. That was John Platty's idea.
Oh,
When
really?
when he came to me, he said, "Hey, we want to do this," and I'm looking through my bag, going, "Oh boy, I don't really have a lens that would work for this, really." But I'm always one to say, "Okay, we'll try it." And
Yeah.
so yeah, I got up in the telehandler and we maneuvered around a little bit and found an angle that worked. And that video I actually took with my cell phone. And the funny thing is the shot I took with my cell phone picture wise was better than the picture I took with my camera.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Well, the problem was I didn't have the right lens for what I needed to do.
Yeah.
But I bought one of those this winter, so I'm better prepared this year. So if I'm stuck in a telehandler again, I might be a little more dangerous.
Is that something you'd like to recreate again?
You know, I've done worse things for less money.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So the picture on the screen there, that's one of my display boards. That's the outdoor display.
Okay. Do they have their own lights and everything?
Yeah, I actually have LED lights. That's what all those little toggle switches are right beside the Titantron there. That is, there's actually a little concert stage that has concert lights that flash and stuff. So,
I'll be darned.
well, I was a lot younger then, and I didn't have a child, so I had a lot of time on my hands.
It's funny how that changes.
Yeah, I didn't even get an email telling me that was going to change either.
I've been there too. I actually did just get back to my shop, so I will try to set up and get to where I can see it on the computer, because I will tell you, I cannot read the comments or anything on my iPhone screen here.
I was trying to do it, but yeah, okay. So I got Dale's question. Jason, no, I actually am not selling toy tractors anymore. I kind of retired from that a couple years ago. So schedule wise for Nebraska, I'm hoping to hit out Ravenna this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and then Amherst on Sunday for the Nebraska Bush Pullers. So Outlaw Friday, Saturday, Amherst Sunday with the Nebraska Bush Pullers. But your guys' weather forecast is making me nervous.
What have you seen in the forecast for Ravenna? I've looked once, but I haven't really paid much attention.
Well, maybe I shouldn't tell you either.
No, it's all right. I've been disappointed by way bigger things.
Yeah, well, depending on which one you look at, it's been anywhere between 50 and 60% chances all weekend.
Really?
Yeah. So there's that whole thing where,
as I don't know if you've seen, we were. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's that whole thing of having a 4.5 hour drive. It's, it's different if it's an hour and a half or 2 hours, but a 4.5 hour drive, it's like, well.
Yeah, that's a really tough deal, because I just went through this last weekend. My hometown poll, we had got 8 to 9 inches of rain.
Wow.
In the previous 3 weeks, which is, and for us out here, is unheard of, because our average rainfall is only 13 to 14 inches anyway. So, that really stunk. And then on top of that, like you said, we had people driving we were very excited to see the, I got to stop and think. One of the super fields changed hands and got sold to a couple in Albion, and they were coming out to make their first hook with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really disappointed, that I was excited to see that. And yet I did not want them to get on the road and drive the 300 to 350 miles out here.
Yep.
With that being a very good possibility. And then we got more rain, so we finally just had to pull the plug on it, which was too bad. But
I was gonna say,
You know?
Kelsey, if you can go back one now, is Christensen's picture, and that's actually kind of tame for him.
Yeah. That's just a little different angle. It's still pretty high.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm just going to put it to you this way. Dan is not sitting on his hands. Dan did more work this winter. That tractor is going to be as tough as any light limited super in the country.
Yep. So now going back to Bart there, yeah. I'm gonna hit quite a few actually in Nebraska. It seems to always work out with my schedule because I don't go pulling every weekend. I go pulling every other weekend and sometimes maybe a weekday. But the thing is I've got a regular 8 to 5 and I have to forecast my time. It'd be different if, maybe I just had some cattle or something where I could get away for a little while, but I got to forecast time, and unfortunately there's other people doing vacations during the summer. So I got to be very mindful of which ones I try to go to and which ones I don't. But over the last 3-4 years, it seems like I spend probably at least 60% of my time out in Nebraska. It's always been a good market for me, and it always kind of works out, and everyone's been so welcoming. So
Well, and at Sioux Falls, you're not that far away either. So that's,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
that isn't terrible.
Unfortunately, some of your guys' hooks are way out there.
Well, Nebraska's a long darn state, and we're just on the wrong end of it. So there's not much you can do there.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to jump off of my phone and get off my laptop where I can see stuff a little better. So if you can hang on just 1 second, or if you have some questions there you can answer, that'd be great.
Sure.
Okay. We'll see you in a second here.
Okay. I was going to say, Kenzie, at some point you could probably go to, there's a folder there for West Point, Nebraska. That's mostly your Heartland stuff. They'd probably dig that.
Yep. And State Fair.
Oh, yeah.
You're also
Yep,
at the Nebraska
Grand
State Fair, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to make the Nebraska State Fair this year. That kind of changed weekends a little bit on me. And
yes, they did. And that's we went from being basically the tail end of the fair to opening weekend. And I mean,
yeah,
for me, or as the poll goes, I think it'll be fine. But yeah, that stinks.
Sure.
Stinks for you.
Yeah. The biggest thing I would recommend with that one there is maybe start a little bit earlier because last year we got really into the darkness.
Well, I tell you what's been great is, Outlaw, we kind of started this in our first year or second year.
This would have been the first year. The year before, you guys weren't you guys co-op with Nebraska Bush, or was that strictly under Nebraska Bush umbrella?
No, see, that was that like 19, I think. We actually went together with the 3 state groups and Nebraska Bush.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it didn't have anything to do with Outlaw at all, actually. And then
right.
They got a hold of us here that last year. And I tell you, we had a great group of competitors. We, be honest with you, this to me is a perfect example of what our Heartland region and Outlaw being, together, we were able to co-op that show and fit within a budget, and felt like the poll went very, very well.
Oh, absolutely. And, depending on the timing and stuff, you guys might pick up some Western Iowa stuff. I mean, you pick up a few other organizations too. So,
it's going to be interesting. My history in polling goes way back, and, my family started in 71 when my dad got out of the service. That was one of the first things he did was borrowed a tractor to go pull at the local poll. And built something right away. So I've been around from, I was born in 73, but I grew up going to all the stuff and was just in love with it. And it's been interesting to see NTPA that had all these member states all over the place. And then all of a sudden it just retracted back into, I want to say the Midwest, but really, at the end of the day, it's Eastern Iowa, Ohio, encompasses most of it. And I want to see this region thing with Outlaw, and I think we have a chance to get a bunch of states together to where we could have regions just like what the old NTPA stuff does. And I think
sure.
that would be a wonderful thing for pulling if we could, get common rules. The same thing that NTPA started for, to get everything to where guys can travel. Because for me, that's a big deal from where I'm on the fringe,
Yeah.
If the rules are the same and like our deal, memberships are the same. You don't have to buy multiple memberships.
Right.
That allows us to travel back and forth in between the groups and makes us both stronger for it.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think that's one thing that's been good with, and I may be wrong. I might be misspeaking, but I think for the most part, there's been kind of an unspoken kind of coalition between Nebraska Bush and the Outlaws, just because they encompass a lot of the same geographic area, where for the most part, other than BP fuels, a lot of that stuff is same old, and that's good.
Absolutely. It does help both of the groups, in my opinion. It sure does. And that's what we have, a group that is a competitor of ours to the south of us by the name of NSPA that pulls in Colorado. And, like some of our pickup classes aren't the same, but our tractor classes are. And that, that helps our pullers at the end of the day, because, whether it's super field or light limited pro, those guys can go back and forth, whatever fits their schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I was just looking at some questions here. So Bart, I don't actually pull. I just take photos, but the farthest I've driven would probably be Rockwell, Iowa, or actually Ravenna. Those are pretty close to the same, about 4.5 hours for me. So gas wise, depending on where you're buying it at, 320 to 350. So
adds up.
Unfortunately, I don't have a Yugo, so I'm not getting all the greatest gas mileage. So, but it's not as bad as those diesel haulers holding them 40-foot drop beds. So, probably favorite track. It's a toss up. I really love Rock Valley just because that's kind of one of the first big ones that I've been to, and because it's 45 minutes from my house. So that weekend I can sleep in my own bed. But on the same token, Wisner has its own feel, its own, I don't know, it's a different feeling to it. I used to really love it when the South Dakota State Fair had it. It was amazing how packed that grandstand would get for the pull on, that would have been Labor Day weekend. It was awesome. So I don't know. It kind of circles back to the whole thing I said. My favorite track is the last one I came from, I guess.
I want to add into that. The thing that I love to see is and it doesn't always have to be a community effort, but you see the tracks that have people behind it with a vision, and they push to get better.
Yes.
That's the stuff that amazes me. I really need to go back and look, but I pulled at Rock Valley, I believe, in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing what that has grown into. And
absolutely.
You can see changes every year. And I mean, to me, that's a testament to the group of people behind it, and there are several other polls. I'll tell you one that I think that people need to have on their radar is Palmer, Nebraska. And Mark, I don't know. Did you hear the story about Palmer?
Huh.
I got a call from a guy, and he wanted to put a pole on his farm.
Mm-hmm.
And you just never know where that stuff goes, and I've learned a long time ago, you take this serious because you never know who you're dealing with.
Right.
And this guy hauled in clay. I went and looked at it. It's pretty sandy. He hauled in clay, 40 foot wide, 400 foot long, put guardrail up. On his place, he has an old school barn that was moved into the place, like an almost restored old barn. Windmill. Big iron set of 10 up. I mean, it was just a phenomenal atmosphere because as you spoke earlier, there's pulls that have are pulls, and there's pulls with atmosphere like Wisner.
Yeah.
Well, this place has some of that feel, and they Big Iron set their tin up. I mean, it was a phenomenal environment. That pole could grow into something special. But, again, you see over the years where it goes, just like people look at Wisner and Rock Valley. Well, 20 years ago, they were not the same poles they are today.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
But it's a testament to the hours and time and money that's been invested.
Well, here's another one that, I probably shouldn't bring up because it's outside the Outlaw footprint. But Rockwell, Iowa is an NTPA pole, and their Lions Club is the one that puts it on.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how big that has grown and how involved that Lions Club is. That's a project, and they work on it year round.
Yes. Well, you look at that facility.
It's amazing.
I have not been there, but I think it's for a standalone pole. I think it's a facility that people need to take a look at with the camping and the different things.
Absolutely.
That really add a tremendous. I mean, again, I've not been there, but I have admired, and you can appreciate, no matter what flag it is, you can appreciate the work and the vision that's went into that pole.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about that is to segue is I'm glad that they got off the same weekend as Rock Valley. They used to be on the same weekend in Rock Valley. And I used to try to sneak in Thursday night there and then Friday, Saturday at Rock Valley. And that was fine 5-6 years ago. But apparently I aged a little bit between now and then. And the recovery and everything is.
Yes, for sure. That's like looking at this year with Wisner being 3 days. That's going to be a grind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you have to think about it that's a lot of volunteer effort and just the logistics of, okay, you get food vendors, they have to plan for that. And that's a lot of logistics and a lot of wheels turning there. So that's a good endeavor.
I will tell you one more venue that I think is going to be exciting to see where it goes is West Point's.
Yes.
That was the first time, my parents had pulled at West Point in the 70s was the last time that, our family had been there. But just what I understand has transpired in the last 3 to 5 years, they are putting together a top flight facility there.
There should be a folder with some photos from West Point last year. I remember the old track there. I was there, 2018, I think, and I shot photos. 2018 or 2019, I shot photos there when they had the track farther down.
Yep.
And just give that time to grow, and that's going to be an awesome setup. You are not wrong on that one.
Great venue, and that track.
The only thing is maybe getting in there with some of those crazy haulers might be a challenge.
Yeah,
I could see that, especially with Mr. Medding and his train car set up there. That's going to be a tight fit.
Pretty amazing. Yes. No, for sure. I'll tell you the one more thing that we touched on that I want to bring up. As a photographer, I know there's times that, and it's all been well documented on Pull Off a few times. People have taken advantage of your work. If I, as a group or a puller, want to use a photo for advertising or shirts, or what would be the correct or proper way to go about obtaining that photo?
I guess the biggest thing is just reach out to us, myself or any of the other guys. Some of us have websites, some don't. For the most part, I've got a lot of like 2022, and I'll have all of 2023 on my website. Some of my older stuff, to be honest, don't have the time to backlog all that stuff just because it takes time, and I'm a busy dude. But a lot of times if you contact us, like for me personally, you can shoot me a message. A lot of times I'll put teaser pics from every event I'm at. I might post 1 or 2 photos from each pass. Like I said, there might be 8 to 20 photos per pass that I'll post. And so that'll be on there. And then a lot of times you contact us. The thing is I you know, we charge a certain amount. The thing a lot of people need to take into consideration is a lot of that involves, like for me, sales tax license. I have to pay Stripe for you to be able to use your card. PayPal and Venmo now charge me. So there's a little bit of that to it, and then a lot of time is when I go to a poll, I don't get paid to go to that poll. I'm going there on my own fruition. A lot of times the organizations are very generous to me for having me come out, but it's not like I'm on a contract or anything. So a lot of times I may make back some of my gas money in the off season.
Okay. Well, and that's something, I wear several hats, but as a competitor, I've tried to keep in my mind that, if we will support you, maybe we can keep you coming, and that's something I think our people need to be mindful of. That, oh man, this picture, this whole event, Scott Walker was pure gold, man. Holy smokes.
That thing was on a tear. That thing was on a tear, and then it wasn't.
Did you happen to catch the video? I was flagging that night. Did you happen to catch
Yes.
the video that I took of him, and then Scott singing to boot? I mean, he's another guy we got to get on here some night.
Well, that's the thing. There's certain vehicles that I see that I hold the rapid fire button down longer on, just because I know something's going to be happy. Especially when I know there's going to be some front end action. Yeah, I'm a little more susceptible to, well, we'll see what happens, and then we'll see what it looks like throughout the week. And that's one thing when it comes down to us doing this stuff, okay, so like this weekend, if weather behaves, I'll go out to Ravenna and I'll shoot Ravenna, and then Amherst. So that's about 9 hours in a car. So then next week, I will probably spend 2 to 3 hours a night, several nights a week, just editing before I'll even touch the internet with it.
Oh, you brought up one question I was going to ask is, if you take 8 to 10 of pictures of the tractor and you have 100 hooks, all of a sudden the numbers are getting big. And then what kind of editing do you pick out a handful of pictures? You edit? Do you try to go through and edit most of them, or what do you do?
I will only edit a handful. Usually what I'll do, okay, so let's just say a small hook, maybe 60, 70 hooks, maybe 800 shots total. Unfortunately, maybe about 20 of those, 30 of those might be what I consider good, because apparently I'm getting really nitpicky in my old age. But I mean, so case in point, usually I sit at 200 feet. I like to get that first initial launch, or that first initial wheelie that you get off the line. Well, depending on how that is, I'm going to try to get it where, I've got the tractor framed real well, or something more exciting, or those ones where I can see the driver's eyes through the visor, stuff like that. Well, you got to dig through those. Well, if you're doing, like a Wisner where you're talking almost 180 hooks, that adds up in a hurry.
Yes, it does.
And then sometimes you want to find something unique, like that one there, if that handsome feller out there, or
hey, I spent way too much time on that one there.
Yeah.
Oh man. I tell you what, Mark, that night there, what a lot of people probably don't realize is in our small state group, we had 2 hooks that night.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, there was some nervous, we've always had our crew together, and listen, we got some good people from Mid-America that help and stuff on this end. But for me to have one of my original Heartland shows going on in Imperial, Nebraska that night, across my, I mean, I got great people, and thank goodness it's not that I don't trust them, but it's like kicking your kid out of the nest, and you just hope everything goes well,
Yeah, right. And then now that that you guys have expanded, you also have to think of, you got someone that has to maintain the not the website, but the app with the results and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts there.
Oh yeah. Well, and seeing this year, you're going to see even more of that, because all of a sudden we're going to be looking at the live stream, which is going to take another person, and we have all these volunteers, and it's while there's a lot of neat stuff going on, it's we're going to have to build on that other side to get more more crew and more help.
Oh yeah.
And that comment you made earlier about the lighting is going to be another deal that I think might be harder on the live stream than it is on the taking stills.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Some of the guys that do stills, they use flashes and so forth. I guess I've kind of always been in mentality that I'm not a fan of that, because I don't know. I've got some pictures of other people using flashes, and you can see it in their faces when the flash goes off inside the cab. And I just, I'm not a fan of that. So that, and I don't know, if I can't tweak it where I can't make it work with what I have, then yeah, I'm good. But each one has their own way of looking at the art. So,
well, I tell you the stuff that I find interesting too, and I see some of this. I see Cody doing some of this. But have you ever looked at any of the pictures or albums of that Kaiser Images from out in Colorado?
Yes. Yep.
That guy's an artist on a little bit different planet, and he's not so much always focused on the vehicle as you might. I mean, some of the shots he has. Simple things of the hook. To you name it. It's really, really darn cool.
Yep. Well, and then plus, I had some intel that he was way out on that hill with a ginormous lens shooting into there. I can tell you that lens, if it's the one I'm thinking of that he was using, that one there is probably more expensive than most of my equipment put together.
He's been in the game a long time, and I don't know exactly what all he takes pictures of, but I know he does. I know he's done some commercial work and stuff with Jeff Darnell, and him got pretty close to where they did a lot of stuff with a construction company, a lot of big time promotional work. It's pretty interesting.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing with this. I mean, it can get really expensive depending on what you want to do. And I mean, I carry a handful of lenses. I have a special sports one I bought last year. That's what I use primarily. But, I've got one now. If I accidentally go up in a telehandler, I might be able to do a wider frame. And then, I've got stuff for walking around in the pits. Well, I'm going to be carrying 2 cameras probably most of the time.
Yeah.
So, and I'll still miss stuff. And then the sorry thing is sometimes you pull out your iPhone and you can take just as good, if not a better shot with your iPhone than you can with the other, because for the most part, that crazy technology will do most of the work for you.
It is kind of amazing where that's went. This is just an off the wall question, but you ever been caught in the rain or inclement weather, and what do you do with your equipment?
I do have a hood in my bag and a few other things if it gets raining. Usually like Rock Valley last year, we had a sprinkle for a while there. I mean, there's certain instances where if it's just sprinkling, I'll be okay. But I mean, if it starts getting too bad, I'm going to be mindful, and I'm going to put that bad boy in the bag, because I've got a few dollars invested in that thing, and I'd like to have it for, not only do I take pictures of tractor pulling, but I do my daughter's soccer games in the fall and the spring. So I kind of want to have that around. So
need to live to fight another day, right?
Right. Yeah. So, and like last year, I drove all the way to Concord, Nebraska to get rained out, and Will Mans didn't give me any points for showing up, unfortunately. So
that was a mess. I was there as well.
Yep. I finally just said, you know what, I'm getting out of here. And my pant legs were pretty much wet all the way up to my thighs getting out of there, because I was hanging out in someone's hauler for a while there, and then finally said, well, I might as well go home. I ain't gonna do any good here.
Yeah, I can tell you I was soaked more than you mentioned there, because I'd actually picked up, I had some issues with my turbine tractor, and Cody Meyer had ran it through its paces and delivered it there, and we actually had to unload and put that motor on the tractor. So everybody's looking at me like I was dumb, because in between the rain, we actually swapped that motor and put it on the chassis. And then we barely got everything back in the trailer as it started raining. And oh my goodness, did it rain.
That's right. It came in on a flatbed, didn't it?
The motor?
Yeah.
No, typical Cody, it was in the side door of his hauler. So we had to get the telehandler. There's a guy that you could tell stories with and about for years, but yeah, he had it just in the side, and we pulled it out of there and went and stuck it on the tractor.
Someone showed up right in the middle of the downpour, and I think there was like 3 or 4 phases of downpours that night. And they
Yes.
showed up, and it was a open flatbed gooseneck. And I don't remember who it was, and I'm like, oh boy.
Well, I ended up with telehandler pushing people out, and I can tell you the people that rolled out of there early got out of there pretty good, and then the ones that waited a little bit, there was nothing but getting the front wheel assist tractors and just dragging them out of there.
Yep. So I already told Will Mans, I said I won't be at Concord this year, so that means maybe you guys can have a hook.
You're skipping out on that one.
Yeah.
Tell you what, that's going to be a busy weekend for us because we've got I'll be in Concord and then be in Rock Valley, and they hired me for a backup sled for Rock Valley, and then Tuesday night after that we'll be in Albion for and that's a new pull. It hasn't been, they've done farm pulls for a long time in Albion, but this will be one of the first larger pulls, which, man, we're really looking forward to it. I've heard a lot of good things about that fair, and I hear it's a nice facility. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure looking forward to it.
Sure. Oh yeah, it seems like we've kind of gotten out of that that funk that we went through 2020 and 2021, and now things are starting to roll up, and a lot of these communities are really coming together again, and it's awesome.
Yes. Yep. Oh, absolutely. And I tell you what, there's some new iron coming out that's going to be fun to watch. You know, we've got a handful of 2 or 3 new vehicles in Heartland, and to be honest, I heard that there's a new diesel super should be out this year. I mean, it's never bad to be talking about a new diesel super.
Yep. No, it looks like there's a lot of stuff out there. It's starting to sound like there might be a few not going to be able to make it this weekend because of parts and this and that. And it's like, Here we go again with that. And that's the kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, just the logistics anywhere. I mean, I got a part-time job. I work for a adult beverage company here in town here, and just the logistics of some of that stuff is ridiculous.
Yes.
And sometimes we neglect it. We think it's everything that we get's 2-day shipping like we do with Amazon. Well, that's not the case. I mean, you can get a 40-foot trailer. You can only get so much pallets of beer in there.
Yeah. I will tell you, and I don't know if you've been posed this question, but Jason always asks the Ryan Rusnick question of what vehicle would you love to run and where?
Chris Holdorf's Florida Cracker, the Aerogator, the minivan that I had that toy of.
Yes.
And I would want to do that at Rock Valley.
Man, did you ever see that thing in person?
No, gosh, no.
I was fortunate enough too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, that's pretty cool. That's neat. A throwback,
Yep. And that's where I got my first taste of it, was the old Redman TNT, 1987, 88, 89, that era.
Yep. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I liked old Holdorf because he's a Ford guy, and I like my Fords, and he was kind of that outlandish pro wrestler guy of tractor pulling, and so that was neat.
Yes, he was. He was a character.
Yep, and the funny thing is for the most part he backed it up too, though.
Oh yeah, he wasn't messing around. That's for darn sure. Yeah.
Yep. So I guess he's still drag racing down in Florida.
Yep, I read something about that. Yeah.
Yep. There's the point right before that rear end went out on that tractor.
That right there.
Yep. He tagged the brake and did a little bit of a left jig, and then all of a sudden things came to a stop.
Did you know that happened to him again 2 nights later?
Really?
Yep. Did it again at Palmer.
That JB Weld just doesn't quite hold it.
Yeah, I don't know what Scott slapped on there, but it was not enough.
JB Weld and bubble gum doesn't do it.
He got the loader ride of shame all the way over to this guy's shop about a quarter mile on the hook.
Oh no.
Yeah, it took a while.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, well, shoot. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or any?
No. For for you guys, I'm for sure going to try to hit West Point again. That
Yeah.
worked out pretty good. I've got a lot of things changing this year because my niece graduated from college and she's got a teaching job down in Kansas City, and so we're kind of working with that. And
Yep.
you know, as much as I love my polling family, my ham family comes first. So
Oh, absolutely. Your ham
so
family,
I'm kind of trying to work around the schedule and see how it goes. And so West Point's for sure. The thing is a lot of you guys also hit all these other organizations in the other places. So I mean, I'm going to see you guys at one point or another.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if Kelsey put it out there, but I've got a website, www.handboysracingtoys.com. It has all my 2022 stuff on there. I'll have 2023 as I find time and ambition and get it on there. You can order stuff through there. It's all set up. The only thing is, like I said, Stripe and all that stuff, they charge their royalties. And so, yeah, there's that. Otherwise you can message me. And if you're looking for something particular, I can always look through the archives. I've got a external hard drive just full of stuff that I've never seen the light of the internet before. So, yeah. So the biggest thing is just contact me. Now, keep in mind, if you contact me, give me a couple hours or maybe a day, because I have a second job and sometimes I'm doing that, or, you know, it's summertime now. Me and the daughter might be doing stuff. So.
Yeah. And for Levi that just asked the question, I'll guarantee you, I'll speak for Mark himself, that he's got some of Novak's Bounty Hunter and Mean Farmer.
I was going to say, which organization, which venue?
Yeah. There's going to be choices.
Yeah, because I have some from even the old Cornhusker Classic back in the day, too.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I've been doing this. I guess I've been taking photos since my first Outlaw hook that I've ever went to was 2007.
Really?
My first time at Rock Valley was 2011. So 2011 was my first camera. That thing was a joke. And then I got a little bit better camera when my daughter was born, and then I got a new camera last year. And so I like to think I've kind of grown with my camera.
Yep.
So Kelsey, I threw up that website for everybody. There's a link there. So yeah, I've been trackside since 2016, shooting photos.
Yeah.
In one extent or another. I mean, I think the most events I've been to is maybe 18 in a year. I think before things have panned out this year, I was looking at almost 21 venues this year.
Yeah.
So, or I shouldn't say venues, 21 sessions.
Nice. Yep. Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot on there. So, but yeah, you can go on the website, you can order it, you can use your card or whatever. Otherwise, I mean, you can message me and I can do PayPal and Venmo and all that sort of stuff. And so I may not have something. If there's something I can't have, you know, perhaps all my buddies might have something too. So
yeah. Do you network with those guys quite a bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we share ideas and give each other static and stuff. And so, I mean, I'm kind of like my dad. I like everyone until you prove me otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Well, I want to foremost say thank you for what you do. You probably don't hear it much or whatever, but we sure do appreciate what you do. And, you know, it for us running groups, we need material, you know, and it's great to have quality, high resolution pictures that we can use for different things. And, you know, you make our life easier, and we thank you.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you. Also, I mean, a lot yourself and a lot of organizations have been really receptive for me. I mean, I've tried to venture into different forms of motorsports, and they aren't as welcoming. You know, even though, you know, I say, you know, I could probably bring you some free advertising on the internet, you know, that doesn't necessarily matter. So that's why I'm really thankful for the tractor pulling community, because, you know, a lot of people are like, cool, come on out.
Well, the pulling family's a thing.
It is. It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up, Mark. I sure appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do this again. I guess maybe I could add, we did say last week we're going to have a wrap up of Bridgeport, but that'll take no time other than to say it got rained out.
Yeah.
End of story. try again. So,
Well,
but
you could say that the points are even square on that event.
that's right. Yep. Everybody's right back where we started. So, but yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yep. Well, I pray for rain, but let's time it a little bit differently.
Hey, I will absolutely do the same. Give us a window about 4 hours a night at the right time.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, Mark, thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you again. Take care. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. That was a good show.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. So are we good or should
Yep. No,
Okay.
we are good. Yep.
hang on? I